Human beings have a desperate desire to gain knowledge and understanding. That is why we have made great advances in medicines, technologies, and beyond. But should some things better be left unknown? One of the principles of living the most happy and fulfilled life is to acknowledge that there are things we cannot understand and that we must approve of God's ways, even when we cannot comprehend them. In today's episode, I am going to share with you the foolishness of leaning on our own understanding. That is coming up next. Hi everyone, my name is Nashi Uhuru. Welcome to the Uhuru Reports, where we share principles about life and godliness, showing you the simplicity of the good news. In Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, we were instructed to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and that we should not lean on our own understanding. In all our ways, we should acknowledge Him, and in so doing, He will make straight our paths. In this verse, it says that if we do these three things, then God will make straight our path. That we should, number one, trust in the Lord with all our heart. Number two, that we should not lean on our own understanding. And number three, that in all our ways we should acknowledge Him. The second of this requirement is by far the most hardest. When the Bible tells us that we should not lean on our own understanding, it is not encouraging us to be irrational. As a matter of fact, there is nowhere in the Bible that suggests any form of separation between our intellect and our faith. The book of Proverbs speaks very highly of getting understanding. For example, it says in Proverbs chapter 2, verse 2, incline thy heart to understanding. In verse 3, it says, raise your voice for understanding. And in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, it says, with all thy getting, get understanding. And lots of scriptures that encourages us to get understanding. The question now is, if we were instructed to get understanding, why are we not supposed to lean on it? What we are told not to lean on is our own understanding, meaning conclusions based primarily on our own perception. Because our own perception and understanding simply will not and cannot bear the full weight of reality. Fact is, it was never intended to. Our limited understanding can easily lead us astray. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end, it leads to destruction. When we choose to direct our lives according to what seems right to us, we often reap disasters. And to really understand the foolishness of trusting ourselves, let us go back to where everything begins, the Garden of Eden. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 and 17, the Bible said that the Lord God commanded man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. Let me emphasize this, that the one tree in the garden that humans were forbidden to eat from was not, interestingly, the tree of life. Or rather, it was not life that God denied human beings. He forbade them to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The point of this prohibition was not to keep humans ignorant, but to preserve for us the pleasure of the world. It was as if God was saying, if we eat of that one tree, we will be saying to Him, we are smarter than Him. We are wiser than Him. We can care for ourselves better than He does for us. So, don't eat from that tree, He says, because that will be an act of declaring an independence from me. And in so doing, we will be missing out all of his good gifts, wisdom, and his care for us. You see, in order to handle the knowledge of good and evil, one must possess the ability to completely comprehend all possible options and contingencies, the righteousness and the wisdom to choose the right course, and the power to make reality conform to the right course that we have chosen. In other words, only God can handle such knowledge. What does that mean? What it means is that it is not the one who trusts in the Lord that is irrational, but the one who leans on his or her own understanding. It is foolish to trust a pitiful, limited understanding when we can trust the unlimited understanding of God. So many of the things that cause us the most difficulty and heartaches in life, the source of so much of our anxiety, fear, and anger with others and with God, is the result of leaning on our own understanding. God does not want us to be miserable, even in this fallen, futility-infected, evil age. He wants to relieve our anxiety, our fears, and our doubts. And so he gave us Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6 as a precious gift. In exercising our faith, trusting fully in the Lord and not leaning on our own understanding, we are not suspending our intellect. We are resting our intellect upon the intellect of God. Doing this is to allow him to direct our path, which not only leads to ultimate joy, but also makes the journey itself joyful, even when laden with sorrows. And it preserves for us all the pleasures God provides us in the world. Not doing this is the height of foolishness and the path to misery. So let us choose life and joy today by not leaning on our own understanding, but in sweet childlike trust on the sure foundation of our loving Father Omniscience. Throughout the ages, we have seen that knowing God and knowing good and evil are mutually exclusive. Our decisions are based either on our knowledge of good and evil or what God says. Most of the times, God's will and guidance is illogical and contrary to our knowledge of what is good and what is evil. Choose life today that thou mayest live.